Hi, I'm Seiler Tucker. You probably know me by now, as I have been in the mergers and acquisitions industry for over 24 years, specializing in buying, selling, fixing, and growing companies. I have an interesting story for you, and I think it will provide some great learning lessons. This company was an oil manufacturing business. They were a great business. They actually operated all my 6 Ps. You remember my 6 Ps from my book, Exit Rich. So the first P is people. They had a great management team, great ownership, 2 partners, and really trained, long-term, loyal employees. They had products. They had congruent revenue streams, multiple congruent revenue streams, multiple ways that they get paid. And guess what? Their processes were tight. They were all buttoned up. They had SOPs for everything. In addition, they had huge proprietary assets. They were well branded. They've been in business for years and years and years. They had long-term loyal clientele. They also had 7 to 8 patents. They had federal trademarks, and they had great contracts. 65% of their revenue was tied up in BP, British Petroleum contract. And guess what? The contract was not transferable. So if they lost BP, they literally lose 65% of their revenue. Buyers are going to want to mitigate their risk. They're going to want to protect their investment. Now, profits is the last P. They had the highest profit margin in their industry, in the oil manufacturing industry. I bought them 7 different offers, but every single offer mitigated the buyer's risk. There were earnouts, there were seller financing, there were reps, there were warranties, there were all types of contingencies in case they lost the BP contract. 2 partners in this business, one 80 years old and one in their 50s. Now the 80-year-old said, Michelle, I'm not having any of that. I'm not going to take an offer with all those contingencies. Find me the right buyer. Oh, sure, no problem. So I went out and I found lots of buyers. Remember, I had 7 offers, but I found a strategic, a company that has similar products and services, but was not competitive at all. And guess what? Buyers buy synergies. This buyer was very interested in the company because everyone else saw BP 65% customer concentration as a negative. This strategic buyer saw it as a positive. So he looked on the upside. He looked at how this business could catapult his business to the next level. Because once he gets in to BP, he can sell his services and products. He paid 165% more than what the business appraised for. 165%. Wouldn't you like to get that for your business? So here's the bottom line. The clients accepted his offer. But guess what? The deal never closes until the money's in the bank. Because remember when I told you that the BP contract was not transferable? The seller, the 50-year-old partner, kept going over to British Petroleum, talking to the person in charge, female. He went over there, bought her chocolates, bought her flowers, bought her wine. Now, y'all, I'm not making this up. He even got on one knee and actually proposed to her. Can you imagine? And she kept saying, I can't do it, we can't do it, we can't do it right now. We have to go up the chain. So the sellers were getting really anxious because why? Because the oil industry was starting to take a nosedive. The buyers were getting really anxious because they wanted to get in BP and really be able to capitalize on their products and services. So all of a sudden they decided this is the day we're going to close. Guess where the closing attorney is? In the middle of the ocean on a cruise ship. Completely unavailable. So we had to deal with his son. The biggest issue here was that the British Petroleum contract was not transferable. So the buyers were taking a huge risk because if they buy the business without the contract and BP says, I'm not going to renew, they just lost 68% of their business. Now remember, everybody wanted to close today. We're about 8 hours into the deal. I got the seller's local attorney on the phone, not the M&A attorney. I got the buyer's attorney on the phone, and we negotiated a transaction where we can go ahead and close without the consent to transfer. But guess what they had to do? The buyers had to agree to remove all reps and warranties. The buyers had to agree to remove all contingencies for the BP contract. They took a huge risk. They went ahead and said, we're going to sign the papers. The biggest lesson is don't have customer concentration. You really have to have client diversification. So make sure you have customer diversification. The other thing that's really important that most business owners never ever do is make sure you have that language that says this contract is transferable to the new buyer with consent. And most contracts don't have that language. So make sure all of your contracts should be transferable to the new owner. And make sure you work on customer diversification, not customer concentration. And call me, because I too can probably get you a much higher selling price for your company.